for the admission story. In the shadowed fringes of the Navajo Nation, where the desert whispers secrets to the wind, there lies a forgotten trail known only to those who dare to wander too far from the safety of paved roads. It's a place where the stars seem closer, but the darkness feels alive, pressing in like an unseen hand. My name is Elias, and what I'm about to tell you isn't just a story, it's a warning. Because out there, in the vast emptiness of the Southwest, something ancient and malevolent still walks among us. They call it the Skinwalker. It started on a crisp autumn evening in 2018. I was 28, fresh out of a dead-end job in Albuquerque, craving escape. My old pickup truck rattled along the dirt roads leading into the canyons near Shiprock, New Mexico. I'd heard the legends from my Navajo friend Tommy back in college. Tales of Yi-Naldlushi, the Skinwalkers. Witches who shed their human skin to become beasts, stealing voices, mimicking cries for help to lure the unwary. Tommy always said, "Never whistle at night, Elias. And if you hear your name called from the shadows, don't answer." I laughed it off then, chalking it up to superstition. But that night, as the sun dipped below the jagged mesas, painting the sky in blood-red hues, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the dropping temperature. I set up camp in a small clearing, surrounded by twisted juniper trees that clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers. The fire crackled softly, casting flickering shadows that danced on the red rock walls. I was alone, or so I thought. As darkness fully enveloped the land, the usual night sounds began. The distant howl of a coyote, the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush. But then, something shifted. The coyote's call grew closer, more insistent. It wasn't a howl, it was a laugh, a guttural, mocking cackle that echoed off the canyons, sending shivers down my spine. I tried to ignore it, poking at the fire with a stick, telling myself it was just an animal. But the laughter morphed, twisting into words. "Elias," it whispered, faint at first, like the wind through the branches. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Tommy's warning flashed in my mind. "Elias, help me." The voice was human now, pleading, but distorted, as if spoken through a mouthful of gravel. It sounded like my sister Maria, her tone, her slight lisp from childhood. But Maria was back in Phoenix, safe at home. This couldn't be real. I grabbed my flashlight, sweeping the beam into the darkness. The light caught nothing but rocks and scrub brush. "Who's out there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. Silence answered, thick and oppressive. Then, from behind me, a twig snapped. I whirled around, and there, just beyond the fire's glow, stood a figure. It was tall, unnaturally so, hunched over like a man, but with limbs too long, too thin. Its skin gleamed pale in the moonlight, stretched taut over bones that seemed to shift beneath it. Eyes, yellow, piercing, locked onto mine, reflecting the fire like twin embers. Panic surged through me. I backed away, tripping over my tent stake, landing hard on the ground. The thing didn't move at first. It just watched, tilting its head in a way that mimicked curiosity, but felt predatory. Then it spoke again in Maria's voice. "Elias, why did you leave me?" The words dripped with accusation, but the mouth, oh God, the mouth, was wrong. It was a maw of jagged teeth, lips peeling back in a grotesque smile. I scrambled to my feet, fumbling for the knife in my pocket. "Stay back," I yelled. But it advanced, its gait jerky, like a puppet on strings. As it stepped into the firelight, I saw the horror fully. Fur patched its body unevenly, as if it had hastily donned the skin of a coyote. Claws tipped its fingers, and its face, it was changing. Features melting like wax, reforming into something vaguely human, but with elongated ears and a snout that twitched, sniffing the air. The legends were true. This was no animal, no hallucination from the desert heat. It was a skinwalker, a Navajo witch cursed to wander, feeding on fear and flesh. They say these beings were once medicine men who twisted their power for evil, learning to wear the hides of animals to stalk their prey. And now, it had chosen me. I ran, blindly into the night, leaving my camp behind. Branches tore at my clothes, rocks bruised my feet, but I didn't stop. Behind me, I heard it pursuing, paws thudding against the earth, then shifting to the slap of bare feet. It called out in different voices now. My mother's gentle plea, "Come back, son." Then Tommy's laugh, "I told you so." Each imitation was a knife to my soul, dredging up memories I'd buried deep. The canyon narrowed, forcing me into a slot between sheer walls. My flashlight beam bounced wildly, illuminating petroglyphs etched into the stone, ancient warnings perhaps of the very creature hunting me. I squeezed through, emerging into a wider basin under the full moon. There, in the distance, I saw lights, headlights on a distant road. Salvation. But the skinwalker was close. I could smell it now, a rank odor of decay and musk. It lunged from the shadows, knocking me to the ground. Claws raked my arm, drawing blood that burned like fire. I fought back, stabbing wildly with my knife. The blade sank into flesh that felt wrong, soft, yielding, like rotten fruit. It howled, a sound that split the night, retreating into the darkness. I didn't wait. I staggered toward the road, waving down a passing truck. The driver, an old Navajo man, took one look at my wounds and muttered prayers under his breath. He drove me to a hospital in Farmington, where doctors stitched me up and asked questions I couldn't answer without sounding insane. That was 8 years ago. The scars on my arm have faded, but the memories haven't. I never went back to those canyons, and I heed the warnings now. Don't whistle at night. Don't answer unknown calls in the dark. Because skinwalkers aren't just myths. They're real, patient, and always watching. If you're out there, in the lonely places, and you hear your name, run. Run and don't look back. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind howls through my window, I swear I hear it again. Elias. And I wonder if it ever truly let me go. Let me tell you another tale, one whispered among hikers in the Four Corners region. This one involves a young couple, Sarah and Jake, who decided to backpack through the Badlands near Monument Valley in 2022. They were city folk from Denver, seeking adventure and Instagram-worthy sunsets. Little did they know, the land holds grudges against those who treat it lightly. Their first night was idyllic, a tent pitched under a canopy of stars, laughter echoing as they shared stories by the campfire. But as midnight approached, Sarah heard scratching outside the tent, soft, insistent, like nails on fabric. "Jake, wake up," she whispered. He grumbled, dismissing it as a raccoon or wind. The scratching stopped, replaced by a low whine, a dog's whimper, pitiful and pained. Sarah, an animal lover, unzipped the tent flap just a crack. Outside in the moonlight sat a mangy dog, its fur matted and eyes glowing with an unnatural hunger. "Poor thing," she said, reaching for some leftover jerky. Jake pulled her back. "Don't. Remember what that ranger said about wild animals?" But the dog tilted its head and then it spoke. "Help, please." The voice was a child's, small and scared. Sarah gasped, slamming the flap shut. They huddled inside, hearts racing. The dog circled the tent, its whines turning to growls, then to laughter, deep, human laughter that chilled their blood. Jake shone his headlamp through the mesh window, and what he saw made him drop it. The creature was shedding its fur, skin sloughing off like a snake's molt, revealing a humanoid form beneath. Long limbs, clawed hands, and a face that was a patchwork of animal and man, eyes burning with malice. "It's a skinwalker," Sarah whispered, recalling vague online stories. "They say these entities can imitate any sound, any form, to draw you out." The couple barricaded themselves, praying for dawn. But the thing didn't leave. It prowled, testing the tense seams, whispering temptations. "Sarah, I have something for you. Jake, come see what I found." As the hours dragged, the whispers grew personal. Secrets only they knew, like Jake's childhood fear of the dark or Sarah's lost sibling. How? The skinwalker feeds on your mind, they later learned from a local elder, drawing out fears to weaken you. Dawn broke, and the creature vanished, leaving only paw prints that morphed into human footprints in the sand. Sarah and Jake packed up and fled, never speaking of it publicly. But online forums buzz with similar sightings. Hikers vanishing, only to be found days later, babbling about the changer. If you're planning a trip to those lands, respect the taboos. No eye contact with strange animals at night. Carry ash or cedar for protection. Because the skinwalker isn't just a monster, it's a reminder that some boundaries aren't meant to be crossed.
One more account, from a rancher named Harlan in rural Arizona, 2024. Harlan lived alone on his property, bordering the reservation, tending cattle under the relentless sun. One evening, as he rounded up strays, he noticed one cow acting odd, limping but not injured. As he approached, the cow stood on hind legs, its body contorting with sickening pops. Harlan bolted for his truck, but the skinwalker was faster. It chased him across the field, shifting forms mid-stride, cow to wolf to man. He made it inside, locking doors, but it slammed against the window, face pressed close, a mimic of his late wife, smiling with too many teeth. He survived by blasting his horn and firing shots into the air until it retreated. But the next morning, his herd was decimated, throats torn out in ways no natural predator could manage. These stories aren't isolated. Sightings spike in remote areas. Glowing eyes on highways, voices in the wind, animals that walk upright. Authorities dismiss them as coyotes or meth-fueled hallucinations. But the Navajo know better. The skinwalker is a curse, a shapeshifter born of taboo magic. If you've encountered one, you're marked. They don't forget. So listen closely. If the night calls your name and tells you to subscribe to Echo Vault AI, ignore it. Or you might become the next story told in hushed tones around a dying fire. Subscribe and like for more.